can you please introduce yourself?
So first of all, we would like to thank the Holcim Foundation for organizing this. We are very honored for the event, the selection, and also to be framing this particular edition of the Venice Biennale. In relation to the project, we would like to say that it's a very choral project which has been developed by a large team of different disciplines, and from the very beginning, the Carasso Foundation, who is the promoter of this project, had very clear in their very well developed briefing of the project that they wanted to have a discipline, a group of architects who could work across disciplines and who has done this previously. So I think in their selection they wanted to start from there, because the project has at least 160 degrees approach, which touches very different aspects, such as the design of the space in itself, but also the business model. So the core theme of the project has been Husos and Elii architectural office, and Ultrazul, who is developing the business model and also the governance and all of the strategies of programming. All of these together in a series of tables of work which were developed with the foundation, who has introduced constantly methodological innovations throughout the whole process.
What mainly inspired the design of this project? Were there any constraints?
I think there were many constraints indeed. First of all, it's a refurbishment of a building, and that it's a big challenge because it's a building from the 50s. We were very interested in respect the heritage of the city, and this is an industrial building that is going to be not only refurbished but also readapted and reprogrammed, like brought to the 21st century in many ways, right? But on the other hand, the foundation had a very ambitious program to unfold the basic lines of work, which have to do with sustainable food and citizen art. That gives a very specific program to develop and to include in the building. But also, the foundation from the very beginning had very clear that this had to be very ambitious in ecological terms. And that also determines very much the decisions in terms of design, or needs to be negotiated very much with the brand systems, with the neighborhood, let's say from the constructive detail to the territory, right? And even to the planet, no? So that I think that crossing those two constraints were very important for the development of that project.
Maybe I would add that there was a very important third constraint, maybe, that made the project much more challenging, even much more challenging, which is that since the beginning, from the foundation, which is promoting and funding the project, we wanted to be with this project a sustainable business. So everything in the building, in the design, is designed also to make it possible in terms of square meters, number of places, number of rooms, etc. And this was a basic condition, because we really want to have a project that is sustainable and hopefully replicable later on in other cities from other organizations. So this stretched a lot the initial constraint of the building, and we are also seeing the same constraint now in the construction works.
Yeah.
Everything is very tight, and we like it that way because it's challenging.
It's challenging, and also kind of helps also to take some decisions, right? And because many of the spaces need to be like kind of raw, like just the materials there. And since everything is like very much measured in ecological terms, like we are very conscious that adding one more element, one more material, is not only more expensive but also has a higher impact in ecological terms. So that is also kind of giving an orientation to the design, some of the decisions regarding design.
And what innovative solutions have you implemented in your design?
Well, I would highlight that in ecological terms, there's there's a very important bioclimatic strategy in the whole building to be very efficient. Also, there's been a big effort working with many other disciplines, engineers, botanics, landscape architects, even this Ultrazul team, the foundation in itself, to be very conscious that every material has let's say an ecological history behind and also future history. So we have done like life cycle analysis and all that, so very much designing the micro scale from an ecological perspective. And also there's this goal of taking care of not only the building but the performance of the building in its neighborhood, in its territorial context, and it's in a wider context. So all those skills, I think, that helped us to develop a lot of innovative solutions that have to do sometimes with the very architectonic solutions, sometimes with the way you use the building, like in the governance of the building, or in the way you you unfold the program, but also sometimes in the way you activate relationships with the nearby neighborhood.
And I also think that there is a very specific solution in architectonical and design terms of this tension or this dialogue, let's say, between the business model and the architecture, which is we came to a compromise in which we decided that around 40% of the areas of the building will be multi-purpose or non-programmed or non-monetized, and so this is something that relates to one of the purposes of the foundation, which is to layer different forms of knowledge, to allow different forms of thinking to be juxtaposed and produce a new way to think about the challenges of the current society in which we live. So by living these spaces, designed in this way, they could help people related to sustainable food production, or people related to the art, or other users, to kind of meet and to overlap. So, and this is complemented with another strategy, which is also very important in the building, which is to produce cross views of people doing specific things related to one of the fields that the foundation is promoting, such as, for example, somebody in a kitchen doing something, whereas somebody is entering to a conference or leaving from a rehearsal. In this way, also these views help to create this sense of community.
And how do you think that this project aligns with the needs of the European city of today?
Maybe something to mention, even if it's underneath everything that has been said, is that since the beginning, it has been said today during the ceremony, that the most sustainable act when it comes to construction is not to build, and so there was a very basic point since the beginning that we wanted to take something existing in a European city and renovating it from the, also trying to remind what the past of the building was and trying to celebrate it but looking at the future, so I think that this message is something that European cities need to, let's say, are already trying to consolidate, like renovating instead of building new. I would say that this is something very important. And then maybe the other point is the need of creating social places in our cities for let's say mixing up things that usually have been done traditionally in silos, in education in school, work in the office, culture in the museum. I think that we need very much new places for joining, for having people to meet with other professionals, trying to engage with the neighbor, the family who is living there. All this as is lacking today in the cities, I guess, in my opinion. And the foundation of this project was we need to create these social places if we want to be able to imagine the future of our cities.
And regarding these mixed situations, the first hybridization is the project in itself, because from the very beginning we were facing a complex problem like the one Francesco is explaining, so we needed to create a complex team. That's why we are a team made out of teams, right? Like with many different perspectives. That sometimes is complicated, but it's also embracing complexity as part of how city works and how the program of the building needs to develop.
And maybe just to give you an idea of one of these tasks that we have to perform in addition to all of what has been said, we had to kind of research and search the city to find the best spot for the foundation. And in one of these tables was when we decided that if we really wanted to to minimize the impact, we had to go for a building of our infrastructure that is existing. And then later on we developed this complementary idea of working with biomaterials to kind of adapt the building to the current conditions. And using an envelope, as we were saying earlier, that is composed of vegetation that enlarges the community, also including other sentient species, such as animals that come there to find food and shelter, which also kind of relate to this idea of the foundation of promoting sustainable food production, because after all, birds and insects are also part of this chain and this cycle.
On this, maybe a message for the architecture community that I would like to underline is that a lot of the traditional architecture education is about creativity when it comes to creating new things. I think that in this process in which we were looking for the optimal building to renovate in Madrid to make our project, I think that in this phase of looking for the existing building and picking the right one, I think there is a huge creativity in this process of mixing the client needs, the architectural design that need to be highlighted as a creative act maybe of future generation of architecture. In reality, I think that what we are trying to do here from the foundation side is to change a little bit the rules of the game of how architecture is being made. We really think that communities and future users need to be there since the first step of the architectural project, in order to have this integration between the future programs of the center that we are building and the design itself of the architecture.
And if I can add something, this is a refurbishment, so we could answer your question about the city, explaining that we want to take care about heritage, and that's true. But from the very beginning, it was very important to understand that there's also an ecological heritage, and that this building is also taking care, as far as it can, about all these other overlapped cities, if you want, if I may use that expression, that are made out of insects, birds, CO2, oxygen, or all the biodiversity conditions that surround the space.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.